Alrighty, welcome back, everyone. Once again, we are joined by my good friend Mike. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm doing all right. I just got back from the movies. I just got back from seeing The Long Walk. Wow, not exactly a date movie is what I'll say about that one.
So, wait, the long walk. So you just went to go see the Lord of the Rings trilogy? What up?
Yeah, Lord of the Rings trilogy where like somebody dies about every 15 minutes. It's a great movie, but it's something you will not be coming back to yearly. It's grim. It's really good, but it is grim AF.
Like, okay, so when you say grim, are we talking like hobo with a shotgun grim, or
Very, very, very dark, but very interesting subject matter. I like the way that it ends, but Mark Hamill just seems to be there to say, "Hey kids, it's Mark Hamill." Applause. I mean, and it's not that he's bad, because he's not, but he's so over the top. Like, why are you here? It's so fucking weird that he's there. Like, I can't even describe to you what precisely he does other than like, hi kids, you need to walk and sack up. It's very strange. Like I said, he's good, but why?
oh yeah, Mark Hamill's a fucking treasure, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
some of his roles have been questionable.
Yeah, like I said, I love Mark. He's great in this movie, but it's so weirdly distracting when he does show up because I don't know. You and I both come from the Kevin Smith generation, so we're like, "Hey, kids, it's Cock Knocker." And I don't. That's all I can say. It's weirdly out of place at times. I don't know who else could have done it without the same bravado and semi-comedic timing. I mean, it's not like I'm going to put Willem Dafoe in there or something, but it's very odd. It's
You know, actually, I would kind of like to see Willem Dafoe do a reading for Luke Skywalker. Not
you
like
know what?
have him do like a movie, just like a scene where Willem Dafoe is Willem Dafoe, but as Luke Skywalker.
You know what? I can't remember, but I remember waking up one night and I was sitting here thinking, like, I wonder what Willem Dafoe's doing right now. And I just had this little voice in the back of my head going, he's doing goblin shit. And just him running around the fucking supermarket like 2 o'clock in the morning buying waffles, going, out, am I? I don't know. I'm on a tangent. If you can't tell, I'm a little caffeinated right now.
That is entirely fine. So the topic that we're going to be talking about today,
He's not
it
Mark Hamill.
no is not Mark Hamill. Though that could be a topic for another podcast. Um, no, it's GM experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly. Talking about storytelling, and I also did kind of want to touch on, as you mentioned last week, Mike, like intro systems for people.
Okay, I like it.
So like, yeah, that's some stuff that we can cover today. So GM experiences. I'm sure that everybody who has been in the TTRPG hobby for any length of time has had at least one experience either from behind the GM screen or even with a GM that has probably made you consider going to the
Therapy,
therapy, Reddit,
a rage room.
yeah, a rage room. I still haven't visited one of those. I've been kind of meaning to because it looks
They
fun.
look fun. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so like this is a way that we can kind of talk about that, like you and I, and potentially give some, people who are just coming into the hobby, uh, some ideas on how to deal with stuff like that.
Okay.
because it is what we do. Now, Mike, what would you say your best GM experience within the context of the conversation we're having today? Obviously,
The best GM experience I've had as a DM or being DM'd.
Dealer's choice.
Okay, let's start with the best experience I've had as a DM, and this one goes back a couple years ago. I used to produce a podcast called Terrible Warriors, or These Warriors Are Terrible. And we were one of the first actual play podcasts before Critical Role had hit big. We started back in 2012, and we would play a different system every single time. And it was me, several other GMs, some of them you may know from Anime North, like Big Mike at the 404s. He does D20 Live and stuff like that. And, you know, he's a pretty fantastic storyteller in his own right. But I remember one game I was playing with some other players. It was like they were Scotty, Erica, Connell, and I think Julian from the Blast Processors. Connell is King Macbeth on streaming. He used to go by Dr. Holocaust at one point. I can't remember what his VTuber name is now. Either way, doesn't matter. And we were playing GURPS. We were playing on a version of GURPS that I had hacked into Neon Genesis Evangelion. And what we used to do on Terrible Warriors is we would structure the show where it would run in 4 parts. Each hour would be its own episode. So you could fill a month out, and the 5th episode would be what we'd call a debrief, where we talk about our experiences, what we liked, didn't like, challenges, etc., have some laughs, kind of like a fireside chat sort of thing.
Right.
So we were playing this, and I had set it, because I'm a big Ava dork, I'd set it at the American Nerve in Nevada, and they were testing the S2 engine, which is where Ava 4 was supposed to be. And in the context of the series, that's where Ava 4 blew up. And that's what happened to the American Nerve. There was a huge industrial accident. In my world, that was the version of the Third Impact that was done by the children to avoid it. So the adventure had started out where my friend Julian was sort of the director of Nerve, and all my other players were Nerve test pilots. In Ava's, it had yet to be designated yet. So the adventure was going on, and it turned out that the director of the American Nerve was actually the Antichrist. And he had summoned Leviathan and another creature from hell, because in Ava, they deal with angels and God and all this stuff. It's baked in Christian myth and whatnot.
Yeah.
So during the last episode, one of the NPC characters that I was playing had been absorbed into her Ava. And I'm having to pretend to be a 14-year-old girl. And I'm freaking out, and I'm begging and pleading, like, is this going to hurt? I don't want to die. 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 And I'm really getting into it. And you can just feel this emotional wave come over my players. And one of my, I think it was Connell, had said, listen, you need to snap out of it. We need you right now. And the room just fell silent. And me and Connell are having this very intense role play moment. And he's like, look, I'm going to need you to do something really important for me right now. I need you to get it together. We need you. We can't do this without you. And I, as this little girl character, had said, is it going to hurt? And he's like, is what going to hurt? It's like, I know I'm not coming back from this. Is it going to hurt? And you could hear Connell and Erica and Scotty's voice break. People started crying. And Connell, without missing a beat, only for a minute. And that entire room, you could just feel the emotional weight. And Julian, who's playing the bad guy in this scenario, is like, it's not going to hurt. Don't worry, because you can't do anything. And Connell and everybody, I'm like, okay, everybody make a roll. And we had I'm like, this is your role is to detonate your S2 engines. You're going to stop this thing dead in its tracks. And if you rolled a certain number, you would be absorbed into your Ava and you were just gone. You were dead. If you rolled high enough, you would achieve, I think, instrumentality. Basically, what happened at the end of Ava, you would rejoin the LCL liquid library bullshit or whatever it was. And only one person survived. So it was a really emotionally intense moment. And I remember during the debrief, we're like, holy shit. And we were just so emotionally drained. And I was really, really proud of that moment. And it's not the first time I've had an emotional response from players like that. Very early on in my career, I was playing Vampire the Masquerade. Just me and another friend. They just wanted to play. And I remember, oddly enough, I guess I've got a theme. It involved the sacrifice of a child, and they were trying to stop Cthulhu or something from rising up from Georgian Bay. Something was sleeping in the water. And we just had this huge emotional moment. And my player did not see that coming. And he was just like, I think I need a minute, Mike. And I was like, you know what? You got it. And it was just one of those moments that, like, we didn't expect it to go as hard as it did, but it really kind of did. And that's probably some of the best GM moments I've had in like a really, really long time. I haven't matched those emotional heights. I've had cool moments where like cool shit happens, but I've never had the level of people being emotionally drained. And I thought that was really, really fun.
Nice. That definitely sounds like it was a blast.
Oh yeah, emotions are what I run on. Like even like when you and I physically like hung out and kind of knew each other, my nickname used to be the love that is, because I was like, hey, everybody fucking kind of bring it in. And I had learned early on being a storyteller, if I know how to use emotions properly, they can be an incredible storytelling tool. I would use them in other ways that probably didn't paint me in the greatest light. Like basically, I knew how to I knew how to use honeyed words when I needed to. Obviously, I grew the fuck out of that. But it was like emotional. If you know how to tug on the right heartstrings in the right order, you can play an absolutely beautiful song with people. And if you're doing it properly, you can bring almost this emotional resonance to the surface, and it really enriches everybody at the table. Now, there's a danger in doing that, because if you overplay your hand, you could fuck somebody up.
Yes.
So that's obviously like something we'll probably talk about in a future episode, like safety tools and trigger warnings and stuff like that. And I honestly was playing with fire because this could have gone sideways, because this wasn't a part of the conversation in the TTRPG community. If it was, I didn't know about it, or if it was, it wasn't talked about in many circles.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that. That were those two experiences.
Nice. I know for myself, I'm gonna say one of the best experiences that I have had with a GM. I guess in this instance, it's technically storyteller, but that's just because White Wolf is picky about their nomenclature. But it was while the LARP was still going on up north. I think it was while Mark was running the show. So for those of you out there in YouTube land, the game that I'm talking about, we've referenced it before a couple of times in the last couple of episodes. It was a multi-year game. Like, I think this game went on for a good 6 or 7 years, at least. And that's just this incarnation that I'm referring to. It was apparently there was another vampire game before this, but that's going off on a whole different tangent.
Mhm.
But I know there was one night when we were at the gazebo, and I can't, for the life of me, remember what the argument was, but I know it was my Bruja Murphy,
Mhm.
and he was arguing with the character that Mark was playing at the time. I I want to say it was like one of the local Ventru that were just kind of behind the scenes,
Mhm.
and like this it in my opinion, it's one of the best for two reasons. The first, and it was one of those situations of he was flexible enough to let me work within, like essentially let something fly, because at one point my character had been knocked to the floor, and I'm kind of just sitting on my ass against the wall of this gazebo, and I think I'm 3 steps. Like, if I was standing up, I would have been within the 3-step rule, which would have been, I would have been able to engage in combat. Um, and I tried to like talk him into allowing me to engage. And he's like, "Well, no, you have to stand up first, and if you do that, that's going to take one of your steps," type deal. I'm like, "Okay, if I can get up to you myself, being the puny, squishy human that I am, my what was it at this point? 6th gen Bruja that had like 6 celerity and 6 potence and maxed out physical traits should be able to do the thing that I'm trying to do if I myself can pull it off."
Mhm.
So he's like, "Okay, fine. If you can do it, if you can get to me like basically face to face in the same amount of time it would take for 3 steps, I'll let it ride." So I did it, and basically did like I rolled forward and then like just bounded up on my feet, in the rock paper scissors pose. And that was the first part of it, with him being flexible enough with the system that it led to good storytelling. The scene surrounding it was very fucking cinematic.
Was this before or after I joined?
I think this was after you had joined, but
Yeah, because I probably just wasn't there that night.
yeah, I don't think you were there that night. But and like further on that with the second part of this, so my character at the time had a terrible, fucking horrible Irish accent. I was in my 20s. I recently watched a metric shit ton of Boondock Saints.
I say,
Okay.
yeah, this was your Boondocks face. I remember this.
Yes.
Aha!
Um. And yeah, honestly, I blame Nick for the character concept. Because while I was Murphy, he was supposedly Connor, and honestly, his Irish accent was way worse than mine. So, I'm not gonna put myself down too much. But no, like in and amongst that, because I think that was around the time that I had taken over the city. Yes, that was around the time that I had taken over the city, because the prince was away and the seneschal was a Bruja. and I challenged them to a duel under Bruges law, and I kind of dusted them in one shot. That game was brutal. Like, if you're a min maxer and or you actually bribed the storytellers that said that they were bribable,
Yeah.
that game was brutal. Um, I eventually ended up having to just straight up retire that character because it was just too strong.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like Mark and I stood like across the gazebo, or not even necessarily fully across. He was like in the middle of it, and I was at one end, and had like a full on in character, like yelling match, like emotional argument, and you could kind of see the rest of the people who were playing because it was actually one of our more populous days where I think we had like 15, 20 people that were milling about that were playing with us that night. And yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
it was just it was kind of a powerful experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because like as you'd mentioned, getting when you can get the right emotional blanket around the scene type deal. Like when you can tap into that emotion that's supposed to be being portrayed enough for people to like stop and actually take notice, that's a powerful fucking thing.
It is, yeah.
Cause you're tapping into some shit right there. But yeah, that's for the most part what I've got. Um
I can think of one for me where I was being GM'd. This was a private yeah, kind of like a private game. So one of the game masters on Terrible Warriors, I just found out the website's down, so you can't go look this up. I'm sure there's somebody who probably has something somewhere. But it was a game we were playing Masks. And I basically played a character who was like female Goku, but I was a young gay girl who was just learning to come out of her shell, was sort of like ultra fucking powerful, but didn't know how powerful she was. Didn't quite know how to handle it, so to speak. So we're fighting these whatever their version of like the Masters of Evil is or
yeah.
whatever, and I fucking annihilated a guy. Like I fired like a Kami Kami Ha or whatever and just fucking nuked him. And the GM had said, your blast is so powerful, you take out the mountain behind this helicopter and just boom, save the city. Great. I'm on the run from these agents that are trying to track me down because I guess superheroes have to be registered or something. I can't remember all the details of the story, but what I remember is how that game ended. So my player character is on top of a cliff or something overlooking a mountain, and I'm having a moment with my girlfriend in game, and I'm with the DM and we're just kind of having that moment, and I'm kind of giving her a debrief, and my girlfriend's telling me like, you realize your mom and your dad had to run, they can't go home, they're looking for you. And I remember replying something along the lines of, but I've still got you, right? And she's like, yeah, you do. And she's like, I'm still human, right? And the DM just said, and your girlfriend just looks at you, holds your hand, squeezes it, and doesn't say anything. And the scene fades to black. And I was thinking, now that's some masterful fucking storytelling.
Oh
Because I
yes.
felt powerful and I felt vulnerable. And like I said, I'm this little fucking like 120-pound black girl who can fucking level solar systems. And I just got taken out by a look. And I'm thinking, holy shit, that is fucking outstanding. Like Masks is one of those games. I went into that game just fooling around. Like I just wanted to be Goku. Like I was literally in my Dragon Ball Super phase. And when the DM started saying like, you're throwing around devastating power. You're going to kill somebody. And I did. I was like, oh shit, this game doesn't want you to kill people. I was like, oh shit, oh God. And then because I gave him the plot hook of like, yes, she's a young girl just trying to come in terms with her sexuality. She has a family that doesn't understand her or anything about her really, but they don't hate her. They just don't get her. So I was trying to play off of that whole X-Men vibe. And I was like, this is really fucking cool. And I've never forgotten that particular moment. And I've never had any DM come close since. My DM that I play with now is my friend, let's just call him Pete. And he games with me, my friend Nick, Sam, and my friend Tom. And he gives us some really good emotional beats in our game. The combat's always challenging. The storylines are very, very, very interesting. Actions have consequences. My friend Nick had, we were being attacked by bandits, and my friend Nick strikes out and takes down this bandit. We don't realize it's a kid. It's a kid with a wooden sword. The kid was like 15 or 16 years old, but he thought he was hot shit. So my friend Nick, who's like he wasn't, he was like a fighter or a paladin or something, fucking struck him down. But it turns out this group was part of this traveling circus that was like, they're not bad guys. They're just robbing people, right? Like they don't kill anybody. They're just trying to make a quick buck, go to the next town, pull the next job. So now my friend Nick is haunted by this psychic resonance in his head. Now he's got fucking shit on saving throws. He's got this voice constantly taunting him. And it's been playing out for the better part of a year. And it's fucking so good to watch. And honestly, dude, this is the longest game I have ever played in.
Nice.
Continuously with no bullshit. We've missed maybe 3 sessions in over a year, getting on 2. That is unheard of.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And it's so crazy because we also have this system too where we're allowed to pass the baton to somebody as long as it doesn't interfere with the main plot, or you have it happen in the same world, just different side of the map. You can have something do like I take over and we run our game from a far point from where our characters are. And I'm like, okay, you're just slightly more powerful dudes. And here is what's going on. And basically my storyline is there is a person who wants to become a lich because they know something's coming. So they're crazy enough to believe if I can achieve immortality, I'll have the time that I need to build an army to fight what's coming, because I can't do this alone. And I'm going to have to become evil itself to stop it. And my players are like, what? Liches can't be good. I'm like, you know what? Under the right circumstances, it's possible. If they believe something hard enough, there are options there. See, and then I randomly made Warforged dinosaurs, but I'll get into that.
See, now I kind of want to touch on that because that, not the Warforged dinosaurs, although D&D Dinobots,
Transformers. That's what I did. That's what I did.
D&D Dinobots does sound kind of cool. But this is going to actually kind of touch into like storytelling experiences here.
Yes.
And this is something that I've noticed, and I'm sure you have also noticed this. X creature always has to be Y alignment, or X creature always has to be Y, just in general. Yeah. The concept of a good lich actually comes to mind, because if you think about it, a lich is somebody who's basically turned themselves into the undead. Mm-hmm. Within D&D, and I'm pretty sure within Pathfinder, I'm a little rustier with that. I should actually do some like deep reading into the Pathfinder books. I have all of them, or well, a good chunk of them. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing that says in the anything that I've read on the creation of a lich that says that you have to be evil.
Technically, yes and no. It depends on what the ritual is to create the phylactery, but what you come from to become a lich. Like there's one content creator called Pointy Hat, and he did this is where my idea came from. He was talking about why liches suck, how can we make them better? And he's like, what would happen if a bard became a lich? What would happen if a druid became a lich? And the idea behind a bard is the phylactery, yes, it's a physical object, but it draws I'm probably getting parts of this wrong, so go watch their video. It's amazing. And the idea is what gives the lich in that world their power is they create something as known as their magnum opus, which is their final song they perform as a bard. That's what gives them their power. The more people that remember their song, that's their phylactery. So if they perform in front of an opera house and people remember it, that phylactery is not just one piece. It's like 4,000.
Yeah.
And as long as that song's in memory, they exist.
That's definitely an awesome way to do that. Where my mind was going is essentially a cleric lich.
Yeah. Devoted to their god.
Well, even, and this might be slightly influenced by the anime that I've watched earlier, but it could be a high priest in a religion of whatever religion is in your world. And let's say the average, because like 5th edition is very vague on what the ritual is to become a lich. Understandably so, because they kind of, I'm sure the Wizards is like, here, you can be creative in this little mini sandbox we gave you. And you can say how liches come to be, which is kind of cool, not gonna lie. But if it's sacrifice that's needed, like, you know, human sacrifices, what if those are willing followers or willing members of, you know, this high cleric's flock? Who are doing it so that this cleric can continue to watch over their community and watch over their, you know, keep doing their job for centuries to come. Or a neutral wizard that just wants to keep learning.
He doesn't realize the price that he's going to have to pay, because one of the things is a lich, you'll live forever, but you can't learn any new spells.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really clever. Like taking the idea of like, I mean, it's like a trope where like you play against type, and if it's handled properly, you can do some really amazing things. Now there are, depending on how much you're being a slave to canon, and I use that term very, very lightly, because like I know in certain worlds in D&D, like orcs are irredeemably evil. Like for Dragonlance, evil is a literal thing. It's just certain people are bad. But if you're willing to loosen the screws a little bit, you could do some really amazing things. Like you look at I mean, a good example of storytelling, to use Star Trek, because hey, that's what Mike does. You look at the Borg. 7 of 9 was a former drone who learned how to regain her humanity. But you look at something like Hugh, when they could have sent him back to the collective with basically a viral bomb that would wipe out the entire collective, and they didn't. You saw Hugh learn his individuality. So they took what should have been an irredeemably evil cybernetic zombie race and give humanity to it. I mean, like even the battle of morality between Picard and Q, and his final line at the end of All Good Things, the trial never ends, so to speak. So like morality is one of those great things you can do if your players are really bought in. I mean, I don't recommend doing this for convention gaming. But if you've got a game you know is going to run at least a few months, you can do some really good stuff. And I really recommend people do, because one of the things with storytelling, it's a collaborative experience. And like, I'm not a dungeon crawl dude. I have the least amount of interest in dungeon crawls that you can imagine. Because to me, again, I think I've said this on the show, I don't want to just crunch math. If I want to do that, I'll program an Excel spreadsheet. But if I'm willing to collaborate with my game master and my friends at the table, you can do some really, really cool shit with that. And as a DM, making your world so much more fleshed out and give your players opportunities to flourish. And I know we discussed last week about world building. That's part of storytelling too, is finding those little things to make the world feel lived in. Like, I know, for one example, in my current game with my friend Pete, I didn't have any money and I was staying at an inn. Somebody had nicked my coin purse. So I said, hey, I'm a druid. How about I teach you some druidic secrets from my circle? In return, you give me some room and board. And when I come back, I promise to work one night in the kitchen. And the innkeeper's like, yeah, that sounds like a pretty good deal. And another person, I didn't know Goblin, and we really needed to learn it. I'm like, okay, look, can I have this book? In return, I'll teach you some of the rituals that the Archdruid has allowed me to spread to outsiders. He's like, okay, cool. Yeah, as long as you fill out the proper forms, no problem. And I promise to return as soon as I get back from the Underdark. We've been there for over a year. I hope he hasn't forgotten me. I love my friend Pete, but Jesus Christ, can I see the sun at some point soon? But
Oh,
yeah,
the late
it's like,
fees you're gonna have.
yeah, like,
Such
oh my
an
god,
overdue book.
I just want to stop fighting Drow and Duragar for fucking 10 minutes. But anyway, yeah, it's like, I love it when everybody buys in. And that's such an important part of storytelling, and with any role-playing game, is everybody's got to buy in. And the more you buy in, the better it is for everybody.
Yes. 100% agree. I know from a from a GM perspective. I know I've felt this myself. It's a really big feels bad moment when you either at a physical game when you're looking across the table, or in a completely online game when like you can hear the tone from some of your players because they don't want to, for whatever reason. I think the word want is kind of the wrong one, but it's the one I'm going to use anyway. When they don't choose, actually, that's a better word, for whatever reason, to buy in. Maybe, like with yourself, combat's not your bag. So, you like, it's understandable that, at least a portion of your brain would check out a little bit and, think about something else. I know one of my low points as a GM, and like, we're talking about the good and the bad. From behind the GM screen, one of the games that I was running, I decided, because we'd had a few people out, and we didn't have enough people left to run the encounter that I wanted to run. But there were still people who wanted to play, so I decided at the last minute, okay, this is going to be more of a social session. You guys are at this base. There are people that you can interact with. You can, find people in the base. You can do stuff. Like, this is your time to kind of have a little bit of freedom and go off the rails a bit. And halfway through the session, I could hear that one out of the well, I'll say 1.5 out of the 3 players didn't really sound like they were interested in what was going on. Didn't really sound like they were just like, ah, yeah, I don't know what my character's going to do. And for me as a GM, and this could be more than likely is the way that I had put it across and tried to portray the various like the scenes in session. But like it's a pretty big feels bad moment, in my opinion.
Yeah. I remember one game. I was running at my friendly local game store, so I'm going to be a little light on details. But I had a player who was on the spectrum, and that is not a knock against them. But I'd had a conversation with this person's guardian because this person was whatever. And I was like, okay, what do I need to know? And we had a moment back and forth. I'm like, okay, cool. This person feels comfortable. Are they ready to go? And their parent, whatever, had said they were really excited to play. Like, all right, cool. I'm going to give them the best experience. I'm going to be authentic and honest. Everybody's equal. Everybody's welcome at my table. Mike loves everybody. Let's go. And for every session, except for one, things went great. And this person did not like the result of a dice roll. And they had a outburst, we'll say. And I'm like, okay, everybody take 10. Let's everybody go to the bathroom, grab a drink. We'll come back in 10 minutes. So I went and spoke with this person's guardian, and I was like, here's the situation. And they're like, okay, let me go talk to them. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not mad at them. But this kid just freaked out, stormed, left the table, threw dice. It was not a great scene. And I was thinking, you can't get mad at me for this. And it was like, the person started, I wouldn't say, it was almost like a settings lawyer / rules lawyer thing. But I'm like, we're playing a game where wizards can do anything they want. Let's be real here. And I rolled the dice on the table. It was a fair roll. I'm sorry, you're at 0 hit points. What do you want? You're not dead. You're at your first death saving throw. And everybody at the table is encouraging this person. I'm encouraging them. Their guardian's encouraging them. And eventually things were resolved the following week, but the person left, and I'm like, okay, guys, well, we're not going to leave it like this. We're done for today. We'll come back at this next week. And eventually I exchanged a couple emails with this person's guardian, and we got things settled out. Person came back the next week. They finished out the season. And the guardian had asked me, what do you think this person should do? I'm like, well, I think they can handle in-person role play, but they have to understand D&D is not something you win. It's something you experience. And sometimes life is about losing. And there's a very famous saying by Captain Picard, again with Star Trek. Sometimes you can do sometimes you can do everything right and still lose. That's not unfair. That's life. And I really wish I could have imparted this lesson to this individual, because that's the only time as a game master I really felt that I failed. But I'm like, I don't control physics. I can't control fate. I can control what happens in the game, but I didn't say rocks fall, everybody dies. It was like, he got a lucky hit. He got a critical. What do you want? I didn't say he cut off your head. I'd say he dropped you to 0. What do you want? And I was like, man, and I understand they were very young. This may be their first encounter that wasn't Baldur's Gate 3 or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And one of the pieces of advice that I gave to the guardian was like, okay, if you don't think they can do this, can I recommend they go to startplayinggames.com? And if they want to play with other neurodivergent players, they have that option. Because I'm very open with neurodivergency. My wife teaches special education. I advocate in this space because I'm a disability advocate. And I'm never going to yuck anybody's yum. I'm never going to look down on someone. I always want to be listening and open and authentic with them. but I'm not going to coddle you either. Like, because if I coddle you, then it's not fair, right? Like, everybody has to stand equal. And I wanted this kid to not be treated anything different than you're just the same as this person who's been playing for 30 years, as opposed to the person you're just learning to play. Is it going to be a little easier in some circumstances? Yes. Are we going to be a little easier on certain things? Yes. But when those dice roll, that is it. And this kid, I don't know whether he did it for revenge or something, but in the end of the game, he turned and stabbed the entire group in the back at the final moment where he teamed up with Strahd. And it was like, okay, well, I got about 2 seconds to figure myself out of this one. Eventually, it all came out in the end, but it was just, I felt like that was a very unsatisfactory end to how things went out. And it wasn't the way that I wanted that game to end. But that probably is just one of my worst failures. And I know it wasn't my fault, but it's always stuck with me thinking, could I have handled that differently?
That's a thing too, is like how you handle things. You know, most people, I think, will look back at situations like that and be like, I probably could have handled that better. Even if, they did everything perfectly. And still had the poor result, as it were. It sucks. To not to put too fine a point on it. But I mean, it's definitely something to think about too, because in like as a GM, you have a lot of power in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to kind of use that like essentially use that power for good. Because as the old saying goes that we keep hearing numerous times, great power, something something, great responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, it's hard. It is really hard. Because I've seen it as a player. One of the things GMs, especially new GMs, shouldn't be afraid to do. And again, this is something that I've seen, and I think a lot of it is just being nervous with learning to fucking herd cats.
Yeah.
But stepping up and stopping potential bullying at the table, or stopping people from going too far. Not just with like bullying or backseat gaming, because I've seen both of those things at the table. I've seen one person try and basically direct another newer player on how to play their how to quote unquote best play their character type deal. Because it was a min-maxer simulationist in a game of just people who wanted to play silly little guys blowing up dragons. Like as a player, that was kind of a really ick moment for me, because like seeing that happen and seeing the GM not do anything about it, it sucks. It puts kind of like a damper over the session, in my opinion. And like, this is something that I do kind of want to go further, like kind of into further depth with in a later episode, when with talking about like problem players and problematic themes and stuff like that. But like controlling things like drinking at the table.
Yeah, like I've had a few sessions, and I'm just going to openly admit this. Like, I use marijuana edibles for pain, because sitting in a wheelchair is more painful than most people fucking realize. And sometimes I accidentally take too many and I get the giggles. Let me tell you this, Damien, you would have loved hanging out with me now as opposed to like 20 years ago. I'm a lot more fun now. Um, but yeah, like it's so hard to manage, but you kind of gave me an idea for us to kind of talk about. And when it talks about storytelling, we don't often talk about consequence. And we kind of touched upon it last time, where D&D is a game where it's very hard to die. And nobody wants a player character to die because it sucks. Like we invest into our Sturm Brightblades, our Flint Fire Forges, our whatever, right? We invest in these characters. We may spend years playing them. More often than not, they get a few months of thing, and then we roll up our next new min-max kick assicus or whatever, and we're off to the races. But we don't often think about what happens when those bad dice rolls happen. Like I'm actually watching this in my game right now with my friend Tom, and he's like, I don't have a good backstory. Whenever I try and get started, it's not coming. Like, because they've got the skeleton of something really cool, but they don't have it fleshed out. And I think they're afraid to do much because they don't know the lore of the world beyond Baldur's Gate 3. And I'm thinking, all right, that's fine. I don't expect you to call Ed Greenwood and, hey, was this person in Waterdeep at this time? Like, no, like we're all playing fucking grab ass here. Let's just have some fun. And he's like, if I die, that's not too big a deal. And I don't like that, but this person doesn't play their character recklessly, which is good. Whereas I wonder if I play a little too cautiously, but I play my character very military-like, but I'm a druid. But I've also read parts of Sun Tzu's Art of War. I'm not going to charge into a situation stupidly. I'm going to approach it from a tactical position because we're supposed to be a mercenary unit. There are certain things you do and certain things you don't. You don't go Leroy Jenkins against the fucking dragon. You're going to die. But when players do die, not everybody knows how to handle that. Some people get pissy, and go off at the table. You and I have seen it happen in our game up north when people would get their characters get their asses kicked. They'd get really upset at it. And because I think you were storytelling at some point, and it might have been Mark, maybe it was Craig. I doubt it was Neil, but it was like someone. I was like, "What did you want? Like, you just had a bad roll. It's okay."
I think I know the situation you're talking about, and that actually kind of also led to one of the coolest characters that Pseudo Westmarch's campaign ever had. Because if I'm remembering correctly, it was Craig.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what had happened, he was playing a rogue. He failed his find traps roll, and he fell down a 30-foot spiked pit trap and died. And he was not very happy about this. However, on the flip side of that, this was back when reincarnation, or the reincarnation spell in D&D was actually kind of cool. So back in 3rd edition, because you could, there was a list of monsters you could come back as. And one of them was a fucking centaur. We had a centaur rogue in our party. I'm trying
to picture this.
Like the quietest little clip clop as he's stealthing down the hallway.
See, I think of that character from that shitty Hercules cartoon doing this.
But like as you say, like it is basically the consequences, and like he was not pleased when it happened. But I think that was a good example of like, because it was the whole table that came together and was like, look, it's, we can fix this. We have the tools. It'll be a random roll, but we can. It's fine. It's not the end. But yeah, like dealing with consequences in regards to what happens at your table is important, and being consistent with those consequences as well. I know in one of my games that I ran, it was using fifth edition as the system as the base system. It was my own world, using a supplement from a third party source. Um, it was basically kind of a almost modern era style steampunk, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. But with magic. And I remember there's one situation where the party is traveling to a major city. And as they're going, they see a huge cloud of dust come up behind them. Like coming up behind them as it looks like a large force is going towards them. Now, keep in mind
Mhm.
at this point, there are 4 PCs. That's it. That's all. Only 4 of them. And I'm like, yeah, so it looks like this large force is following you. And right away, they start doing what any murder hobo group does, and they start planning on how to take out this force. This force, I might add, that they were expected by me to try and hide from, because like it was overwhelming numbers.
Mhm.
And like I gave them, because usually what I'll do with that is I'll do the voice of reason like 3 times. If you give me 3 yeses, I like, yes, I want to do this. After the third, are you sure? I generally let it go. This time I'm kind of glad I didn't, because it would have ended up as like a whole wipe. And like it was essentially, it took me going, look, based on what you see, your character can assume this is coming. And it was like a super heavy type vehicle that, itself had a crew that was like 5 times the party. And then there were other assorted hanger on vehicles type deal. But like sometimes you kind of have to be heavy handed with the foreshadowing of consequences.
Oh
Um,
boy, you just reminded me of something. Please finish your thought, because oh boy,
but
I almost lost a group over something like this, and I didn't see it coming.
ooh, okay. Like that story was basically getting to the wrap up as it was. I would like to hear this because this sounds interesting.
Okay, so actions have consequences, and in the group that I'm a part of used to be a lot bigger, and we used to play with 2 other guys, and this person decided one of the 2 people decided to cowboy off, and we all of us were sitting behind at base saying, "Hey, you shouldn't go out there." He's like, "Oh, don't worry, I've got this. I'm gonna go do this, that, and the other thing." We're like, "Please don't." And we're like, "No, we're a unit. We stick together. If you're gonna scout, you take 1 or 2 people with you." And he did, but they got cut off. And my friend Pete has a paramilitary background in real life. And we're like, and he told us very explicitly, my my enemies will fight tactically, they will fight smart, but they will not they're not going to fight stupid. They're going to behave. If they're a military unit, they'll behave like a military unit. If they're a group of slime, they'll behave like a slime would, right?
Yeah.
Like just common sense. So these 2 people had fought hobgoblins and orcs. Hobgoblins in D&D and Pathfinder are military. They think, they strategize.
Yep.
They had cut these people down, pretty much didn't kill them. He's like, fuck, I can't. Pete's like, I can't kill these guys. So he captured them. And then the next session was us going to rescue them. And it was fucking awesome. But it turns out, so when we're chatting after the game, let's call this person John. I was like, "Hey, John, are you okay?" No. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? Like, what's wrong? And I'm genuinely I'm like, hey man, are you good? He's like, my problem is you. And I'm like, whoa, what the
Ooh.
fuck? And I'm thinking, because you made me do this. I'm like, I said hold fucking on. I told you to follow military doctrine. I'm following the art of war. Let's not forget, I'm a fucking idiot in a wheelchair. Just so we're clear here, kid. And the kid just he goes fucking off on me. And I'm thinking, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he starts going after my game master Pete. And he's like, this is your fault too. He's like, no, I told you I played it fair and I didn't kill you. And he started like asking for all these weird things on his character. He's like, well, I'm a sorcerer and I've been tortured. I want to fail my roles all the time now. We're like, you don't have to do that. If you want to lose a finger for flavor, that's fine. We can figure it out later. It's like, no, 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 no. And he wanted to do all these aggressive things, but he was really mad at me and Pete. And we're like, okay. So eventually Pete calls me. Pete, like I said, he's works in law enforcement. So he's a very busy dude. I get a call on his lunch break. He's like, Mike, can we talk? I'm thinking, yeah, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm fine, but I want to talk about what happened at game. He's like, this is bad. And he's like, he's written me this huge letter, this huge thing, and he's really upset. And I'm thinking, well, fuck, because our group at that time was everybody that I've mentioned, like Pete, Nick, Tom, and Sam, and these two other guys. And I'm thinking, well, he's really mad at you, Mike. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to be reason this group breaks up. If it makes it easier for everybody, I'll just go. And he's like, no, you're not doing that because this is not your fault. And I was like, well, thank you for saying that, but I don't want to hurt anybody. And he's like, no, you haven't, and you're not. So Pete then wrote to this guy, and he's using de-escalation techniques as a professional. He's like, say, hey, look, John, are you okay? And he's like, no, I'm having some real problems at home, this, that, and everything. We're like, okay, cool. There's some kind of a real life issue here. So we're like, okay. Eventually, a few days pass, more angry words are exchanged. And my friend Pete's like, you know what, man, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. We're thinking, okay, well, now we're going to lose the entire group. So we're like, okay, maybe it's time to have the exit interview. And Pete's like, well, what's that? I'm like, well, in politics, it's known and in PR circles, it's basically, it's not you, it's me conversation. It's the breakup.
Yeah.
And we're like, you know what, John? You're going through a lot right now. D&D is meant to be fun for everybody. This is affecting other people. It's affecting people outside of game. We think for your mental health, maybe this isn't the game for you. There is no malice. There is no hatred. But at this time, we don't think this is the right game for you. And this person got aggressively mad. But Pete stood his ground and stood by me and stood by everybody else. And we thought we lost 2 players. We thought we could have lost 4 because other people were really tight in that little group. But the other 2 decided to stick around and the other people left. And it was really unpleasant because I know I didn't do anything wrong. I just advised common fucking sense.
Yeah.
And everybody was willing to work together to resolve this. But this started this whole thing is this person decided to cowboy off. And we normally play for 3 hours on like a Monday night. We sat there for over at minimum 90 minutes, probably close to 2 hours with me and the other guys doing nothing, just listening to them getting their asses kicked. And we're like, well, this is fun. So like I'm playing Pokemon Go on my phone anyway. So I'm going, all right, well, I'm bored, but I'm not that bored.
Yeah.
And it sucked too, because like that's one of the few situations where I've almost considered writing into D&D Doge or posting this story on like the D&D subreddit. And it sucks too, because like John did nothing. They had a bad day.
Yeah.
But they just kept going and going. And I don't know what happened to them since. Sometimes I'll check in with my friend Sam, say, "Hey, is John okay?" He's like, "Yeah, he's doing good." I'm like, "Good." I'm glad to hear it because this person was fun. They were fine, but it's one of those weird moments in my career where I've kind of felt awkward at a table because that's the time I wanted to leave because I didn't want to ruin everybody else's fun. And I don't know. It's always left me feeling kind of weird. Like I hope this person has found peace and I hope they found another game that they can have fun with now. But
Yeah.
actions have consequences. When you cowboy off on your own, you're gonna get your ass kicked. Like you're not the Terminator. You're a level 3 or 5 character against 9 very competent hobgoblins and reinforcements. You are a sorcerer with limited spell slots, limited hit points, and probably really shitty AC. This is not weighted in your favor.
Yeah, no. No,
Yeah,
not at all.
and it was a hell of a rescue to get them back. And since we rescued them and they stormed off and everybody had their last fuck you message on Discord, we're like, well, we're never talking about that again. And we just moved on to the next part of the adventure and we've never referenced those characters again. Like we're still playing in that campaign world. That event still happened. But it sucks that they don't get to see what happened.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when those people left, the camaraderie in our group grew. Like that, our group was tested because most groups would have broke up over something like that.
Yeah.
And our group didn't.
I've seen groups break up over shit like that.
A lot. Yeah. And it's usually a lot less.
Yeah. I actually have a story in regards to that, but that story I'm gonna save for the dealing with problem players episode.
Okay. Ooh,
specifically because it was one that, like, you knew me in my 20s and like I'm still pretty much the same now. I'm very slow to anger, but once I get to that tipping point, it's
don't piss you off.
It's kind of done. And I over me giving a suggestion, I had another player snap out on me to the point where I looked at the GM and I'm like, I'm out of here. I'll walk home. It was like across town from where I live. Like, yeah, it was a situation.
Jesus.
But yeah, so that we'll talk about that in an upcoming episode. Because yeah, it's it sucks when a situation like that happens and you have to deal with it. Like again, like looking at it from like the GM perspective, on top, like when something like that happens, on top of herding cats, that every GM has to do, because it's been my experience, there's never just one Chaos Goblin in a group of players. They're all Chaos Goblins, just to varying degrees.
Oh yeah.
Like that has been my experience. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things that like it makes the position of game master a difficult one. It's one of the things that makes it a difficult position. Now, one of the things that I kind of want to mention, or kind of wanted to talk about as well, we're going to do kind of a little shifting of the gears, as it were. Intro systems for new GMs. I think this is one of those things that it's a lot of different people have different opinions. You look at anybody within the TTRPG community that's been a GM for any length of time, and they'll give you like 2 or 3 systems that you should start with, and usually it's you need to start with this system type deal. What are a couple of the systems that you would suggest for new players?
I really, it's such a boring vanilla sex answer, but D&D 5e, either 2014 or 2024, mostly because the tools are really well supported, especially if you're using D&D Beyond. Everybody can follow along and everybody can see the roles, and it helps you build characters that are completely legal as you go. But you can also do point buy, you can do stat assignment, you can do pre-gens. It's really easy. The monsters, like there's your hit points. The only thing that's really hard to learn is encounter design, and that's honestly something that just comes with time. Uh, there is a mathematical formula to it. I don't follow it. I look at the CR. I see what the encounter tool says on D&D, says, is this deadly for X amount of characters? I'm like, all right, cool. Let's go. But that's a boring answer. A system that I really like because it's so flexible and it's been ported to so many different IPs is the 2D20 system. Now, as I mentioned before, I'm a freelancer for Modifius and I work on Star Trek. But Star Trek is really easy to learn because it's very, very narrative. And it's basically, here's your attribute plus a skill, roll under it. If you roll a 1, you get 2 successes. If it matches a focus on your sheet, like daring plus engineering, and you have a focus of warp field dynamics or subspace field theory, cool. You can use that and now you get extra successes or extra dice. Great, that's it, done. Star Trek is really easy. There's a great channel on YouTube called Off My Bridge and How to Be a Gamer, or How to Be a Great GM, run by Guy. Really, you'll learn the system in about 15 fucking minutes, and it's so easy. That's another good system I like. One that's more narrative based is called Fate Core, and it's literally just fudge dice. Just describe the scene. It either happens or it doesn't. That's it. That's great. I like that one, but I think it's a little too loosey goosey with systems. And I think this might be kind of a hot take, but I love the system because I think it's simple. Call of Cthulhu, because it's based on percentile. Just here's your dice, roll it. You have a 100-sided dice or 2 D10s or whatever the fuck it is. I don't remember, but I remember it being pretty easy to learn. And this is Call of Cthulhu 7th edition was the last one I played, and it worked out pretty well. I think anything that's narrative based, I think runs pretty well, honestly. And it's a good system for people to cut their teeth on. When you want to get into the more crunchy stuff, I mean, like, yeah, you can do like the One Ring. You can start getting into Pathfinder 2nd edition. I'm not the biggest fan of the math in that game because I prefer Pathfinder 1st edition, but that's because it's basically D&D 3.5 if it worked.
I've heard Pathfinder first referred to a lot as 3.75, which is I think basically the most accurate way of describing it. I saw somebody recently compare Pathfinder 2e to 4th edition, and I wanted to reach through my phone screen and smack the person.
Yeah, because that's not accurate.
That's nowhere near accurate.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's got maybe some stuff with the encounters, maybe, but no, like, no, stop. You're fired. Sorry, I quoted the wrong person. But it's just like, yeah, it's like there's so much. It's so much more than that.
Oh, and exactly.
That's the thing. I mean, D&D I think is the most accessible. Plus, you could easily go to Adventurers League if it happens to be in your area. It is the most popular system on, like, frankly, if you want access, it's the most accessible system you'll find in your local communities. Star Trek a little bit less, I can say. I'm trying to think of other systems that would be really easy to learn. Tell you what, let me think on that. You go.
So so as far as accessibility, I kind of before I get into my list, um, I think there are a lot of other systems that are a lot more accessible simply because of the availability of their digital books.
Mhm.
Because like to legally have any of WotC's digital content, like the actual stuff from Wizards, as far as I know, unless they've changed it, you can only get it through D&D Beyond.
Yeah, like if you purchase a book on Drive Through RPG, you can't port it to your D&D Beyond account. You have to buy it through D&D Beyond, but you can share it if you have like the master tier, because that's
Yeah.
what me and my friends do.
Yeah,
But
like
yeah,
I've had a couple of
it's a weird
DMs.
environment.
I've had a couple of GMs that do that. Um, Honestly, as far as systems that I think are beginner friendly for those people that like to do the math and like that sort of complexity and crunch, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
3.5 or Pathfinder first. And like we kind of spoke about this before, and I gave my reasoning for this. Yes, fifth edition has the tools available, but I know I'm gonna sound like a Luddite saying this. It's not the intent, but a lot of times those tools make for lazy players because it does
Or
be.
or it encourages min-maxing.
I mean, even like min maxing, there are
And
ways to deal with that. That one, in
yeah.
my opinion, is less bad. But like when like with D&D, like with D&D Beyond and the character creator on that, and like not knocking people who prefer to use that if that's your preferred platform to use for gaming. Fucking fill your boots. It's awesome. I'm not here to yuck your yum. But like in regards to like you can like you punch the numbers in, it does all of the math for you. You literally do not have to understand the the simple equations on your character sheet for D&D Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with some of the older systems, again, like I said, 3.5 Pathfinder first, um, you have to learn those. You have to have an idea of how your AC is calculated and what goes into that for that
Mm-hmm.
calculation. I think personally, I think that leads to stronger role players.
It builds good habits.
Yes, it does build good habits because like then you move on to an easier system like fifth edition, and you have that you have those transferable skills in the back of your mind, which that takes a lot of the pressure off where you don't need to be thinking about that. Like it's basically that stuff is second nature to you already, and you can focus on the role play.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for people who don't necessarily like the crunch, Blades in the Dark is an awesome system. It's dice pools. You have this many dots in whatever attribute you're trying to use. You roll that many d6. And did you get a 5 or a 6? If you did, cool, you succeeded. And it it has enough structure that you can build some impressive stories within it, but it's narrative enough that if your GM thinks your idea is cool enough, it's not going to break anything really if you roll with it.
Mm-hmm.
It is definitely a very rule of cool type system. Another one that I like, because of how laid back it is masks. We've mentioned it a couple of times in the last couple episodes here. But like, you can put a character together and jump in ridiculously quickly. And one more as kind of an honorable mention. If you like your games brutal, like if you're a fan of like Soulsborne type games, maybe you have an interest in Warhammer 40K. This has no relation to those two properties, just like, the level of lethality, I think, is where it would be most applicable. Mothership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a sci-fi system. You play as kind of however you want to flavor it. You could be mercenaries. You could be salvagers. You could be space truckers with your own ship type deal. But it is, and while I did honestly, in my opinion, undersell how lethal the system can be, you can create a character within 2 minutes and have all of the stuff that you need to jump in and start playing. There's also an app for it, which for the character creator part of it, which lets you build a fully functioning character. You don't even have to buy the books. Is free. So like that, I think it's ridiculously accessible. To the point where if you like, you could probably, using like Google on your PC, bring up the Mothership companion app on your computer if you're like playing remotely and you don't have a tablet or a phone, which there are not too many people that don't have a tablet or a phone in this day and age.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's pretty much required for living.
They
now,
do exist. I've met a few people who still rock a flip phone, but they're usually at least 10 years older. Well, I was going to say usually at least in their 50s, but yeah. They're generally older sorts. But yeah, like it makes it really accessible. If you make a character and you make a wrong decision and die, you can be back within the session. Without really having to worry about it too much. It is 100% a system I would suggest taking a look at. I know on the Daniel's Dread Tales podcast, we've done a couple of Mothership episodes. There's a couple of one-shots, and we've done it on our monthly stream a couple of times, where we have played Mothership, and it's always a blast. So yeah, that is definitely another one that I would suggest for newer players. And then there's also stuff like Lasers and Feelings.
Yep.
And things like that, where it's, you essentially pick a number, and if your number is high, you want to try to roll under it generally, and if your number is low, you want to roll above it. Lasers and Feelings is definitely an interesting system. And it is good for pure role play.
Yeah. One system I liked that you ran, but it's definitely a nice hack because it's very much rules light. I really liked MechWarrior Destiny.
Yes, the queue system.
Yeah, you made that feel really accessible because I was really worried you were going to run a Time of War, which is basically like, here's the Library of Congress. Come back in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's very complicated.
Oh yeah. And like that's actually one of the things that I think CGL Catalyst Games Lab, um, I think that's one of the things that they've done right with the licenses that they've acquired, because the Q system, the same system for MechWarrior Destiny, is basically the system for Shadowrun Anarchy.
I thought so. I
Yeah.
thought
Like
so.
if you look through the books, actually even in the MechWarrior Destiny book, as it's going over and describing the system, it actually references Shadowrun Anarchy, which was, I think, the first of the two systems to come out. And then they saw that, oh, hey, this works for this. Let's apply it to this IP that we now have the rights to, type deal. And yeah, it's really accessible. I think it for to get the most mileage out of it, you need people who can buy in. And I know we've talked about this a bunch before, but it's super important. Because like the way that system works is every player, when it gets around to their time in the narration, they build on the scene. So if they want to decide that they, can talk to somebody else in the scene, they can. If they want to decide that somebody new comes in, cool, somebody new has come in, type deal. Like, and it's designed so that everybody at the table can build on what everybody else has done, with the GM just kind of being sitting back and going, okay, so we don't really, I need to throw in some scene setting every now and again, like when the scene starts and stuff like that, or describe some of the locale. But as the GM, you're just kind of sitting there waiting for it to become time to roll dice. And I think that is I think it's one of those systems that's kind of freeing, especially if you're used to something like D&D in all of its flavors, with
Mm-hmm.
how restrictive it can be with it's the GM that sets the scene and does all of the describing, and the GM says what the NPCs do. The players don't have a choice in the matter, type deal. So like
Mm-hmm.
it's freeing actually for both the player and the GM, in my opinion, if
Yeah.
you have the right group. Because
Yeah.
otherwise it turns into basically the same thing as most other TTRPGs, where it's the GM is deciding all of this and the players are just reacting to it rather than helping set the scene, if that
You
makes
know,
sense.
you just this might be a topic for like a future show because I think it should be. Um, how do you assign homework? Because we talked about this very briefly about setting buy-in. This is a collaborative storytelling experience. And again, we're not expecting you to write Monty Cook. We're not expecting you to write to Ed Greenwood or the Pathfinder Paizo team or whatever. That's a discussion because the biggest challenge as a game master I had for running Shadowrun is okay. I need you guys to read 30 pages for world setup. I need you to understand as it happens, or I think the chapters were called in second edition, and so it came to pass. Here's all you need to know. And I find some of the settings like Cyberpunk Red or Cyberpunk 2020, Shadowrun, you need to read those to really make it. Otherwise, you could just run Urban Shadows and okay, it's cyberpunk and blank. But that also encourages just here, make up a mega corporation as you go, right?
Yeah, I definitely love making up mega stuff like mega corporations or cities or kingdoms as I go. I'm kind of bad for that. Um, Alrighty. But yes, that's an awesome idea, and I've wrote it down on the list of episode ideas that I have going at the moment. Because I've realized I should probably have at least an outline of the different things I want to talk about. Um,
Welcome to podcast producing, buddy. Ain't it fun?
oh, I know, right? Uh, anyhow, I think we are going to wrap things up here. I think this is a pretty good stopping point. In the comments, if you've made it this far, feel free to talk about some of your own GM experiences, either as a player or as a GM. They don't have to be good. They don't have to be bad. It bonus points if they're funny.
Yeah.
Also, like, subscribe, all that fun shit. Uh, and I want to thank you all for coming and hanging out. Mike, if you have anything new you would like to shill, now is the time for you to stand on that soapbox.
Let me see. Well, currently I said I do still have my Patreon. I just posted an interview I did with Jeff, with Galaxy Builder Decks from Mountain Studios, I want to say. I'm sorry, Jeff, I'm getting your studio wrong. Either way, this week in geek.net, the interview is available over there. We took an extra week off because I was sick this week, but we're back on Monday as of this recording with new episodes of This Week in Geek. We do have several big game reviews coming up in the next little bit. I don't know whether I'm able to allow to mention some of them, but we've got some pretty big fall releases early. I'm working on Star Wars Outlaws on the Nintendo Switch 2, which is a port, but still, it's not bad. Plays pretty good on a Switch. I never thought I'd have to say that. As just before this recording, actually, just as I came in the door, I got the new Dungeons and Dragons starter set from Wizards of the Coast. They sent that over, so I'll be cracking that open. Literally peeling the plastic off as soon as I hang up this call. And I got a bunch of cool Transformers that Hasbro sent over to me. Some good, some bad. You'll have to wait and see what I think about those. And I think I'm reviewing the new Magic set for Spider-Man. I'm just waiting to get confirmation whether I got that in the mail.
Interesting.
So yeah, lots of good stuff coming up from me.
And here's hoping they didn't send you a box they weren't supposed to. Though I don't think the Pinkertons can get up to Canada.
Yeah, I'd rather not have that happen. Or the last time I got a box, it wasn't anybody's fault, but I had to pay near $300 in tariffs. So that was fun for a promo thing. But still, I got a lot of cool cards out of it. So I'm pretty happy. So anyway, that's exactly. That's all I've got.
Alrighty. Well, once again, thank you all for coming and hanging out with us while we have this chat between two nerds. Mike, as always, it was a pleasure having you on, and I will be probably contacting you about another topic coming up in the next few days here. And I hope you have a great day tomorrow, sir.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Be excellent to each other.
Cheers.